Today, I won't be fishing in my home state of Illinois. Instead, I'll be traveling to the smallmouth promised land of Wisconsin. This is my first trip up this year, so I'll have to buy a fishing license. And at the outset, that doesn't seem like much money to fish the entire year in a state that boasts some of the country's best river fishing. But add a motel room, a few tanks of gas, tolls, and everything else involved in spending 2 days on the water, all of a sudden, an overnight, out-of-state fishing trip feels like it could break the bank. Let's find out what it actually costs and ultimately decide, is it worth it? Oh my God. In Illinois, I pay $15 for a fishing license and I barely even think about it each year. But to do the same thing legally here in Wisconsin, I'm paying almost 4 times that. And the state still can't make the math work. That's the first thing nobody talks about. So let's talk about it. Wisconsin's Fish and Wildlife account is almost entirely funded by license sales, timber revenue, and tribal gaming payments, not general tax dollars. Non-resident fees were raised in the 2023-25 budget to generate roughly $5 million in additional revenue over 2 years. That increase is part of why I'm paying $56 today. Illinois takes the same approach, and IDNR's Division of Fisheries receives 0 tax dollars. The entire operation runs on license and stamp sales. Both states are betting their fisheries on people continuing to buy fishing licenses. So my $56.18 in Wisconsin and $15 in Illinois isn't just paying for access. It's propping up a system that's under real financial pressure, but more on this later. Now, let's dive into the things that have the potential to make any fishing trip an expensive endeavor. That's me, staring down the barrel of a 337-mile drive, questioning my choices after a full day of working outside on the river. At the 2026 IRS rate of 72 cents per mile, that's $245 just to move my vehicle and trailer to Wisconsin the first time. And that doesn't even include tolls or topping off my tank so I can get to the motel in just one push. Well, I'll actually need to make one dual-purpose pit stop. I'll burn through 3 tanks of gas as I get from spot to spot and eventually head back home, meaning the receipts will continue to pile up. But the real cost, when my mileage is doubled, the wear, the depreciation, the maintenance in the future, that's going to be 5 times what I paid in fuel. I'm just paying the rest of it later. So while my gas costs don't seem extraordinary, the overlooked costs are. I get shaken awake because we didn't make a plan about start time. 7:40 is still too early. I'm tired from working all week and I'd have slept until 9 if I could have. Check out the free cancer-causing foods at the hotel, head outside, order through the McDonald's app. It's quick trip time. I need gas. I need some chips and a breakfast sandwich that I'll eat cold on the water. And I can't forget to make a poor choice. Most importantly, I need coffee, even though it's chronically subpar. At least they have the real half and half and not the soybean oil shit. The donut makes up for the crap coffee. It's my kryptonite. I guess I should have some real fiber. I get underhandedly sassed by the cashier.
Sure I can.
That'd be great. Appreciate it. Time to hit the McDonald's drive-thru. And now we're on our way to our first spot. But first, we have to stop on the side of the road so Jeff can buy his license before he loses service. We're almost there. $265 spent, and I haven't even made a cast yet. I haven't lost a lure, and I certainly haven't caught a fish. That's 166 Quick Trip donuts, that's an upscale night out with the wife, and that's 30 pounds of smallmouth at the Asian fish market. Would those be better investments? And on top of all the money spent, it's freaking cold. The cost of this trip doesn't exist in a vacuum. I've been buying gear for this type of outing for years, and those costs add up to an embarrassing amount of money spent. I would wager that most fishermen don't give an honest accounting of this figure and just kind of pretend like the total of their sunk costs doesn't exist. But the reality is, it does, and the figure is more frightening than you may think. I can't believe I'm about to do this, but here goes. I hope my wife is not watching. Well, who am I kidding? She doesn't really care about fishing videos. Welcome back to your favorite game show, The Price is Too Damn High. On today's Showcase Showdown, we have all of my kayak gear and fishing gear as shown by these beautiful young ladies. As you watch the items pile up like the receipts on my desk at home, be sure to be ready to place your bid for your chance to win the knowledge that you are smarter than I am. Okay, now which internet stranger out there is going to win today's showcase showdown? We have a total incoming, drum roll please. And oof, I'm just going to pretend that that number does not exist, but let's do a little more math. How much does that cost per trip? If I take, let's say, 25 trips, I do more than that in a year easily. What about 50? Okay, and let's look at 100 for over the long term. Not terrible. Keep in mind, I am fishing out of a small plastic boat. There are plenty of other fishermen out there who have spent way more money than me, 20K plus, on their rigs, and so that number is going to drastically increase their sunk costs, even if it is divided out over time. All right, we rolling, boys and girls. Let's catch some fish. Eat some bugs, catch some fish. Big one. Tank. That's a tank. That is huge. Well, that is a great way to start the trip and make all the travel up here, all the time it took, a little more worth it. So we're gonna try to continue doing that all day long, catching nothing but big quality river smallmouth. And of course, we're gonna see how much they cost at the same time, but I'm here to fish, so that's what I'm worried about. Let's go get another one. So what I'm using today is just a little Kitech blue-green on a spot remover jig head. Got this from an old friend. So I'll be honest with you guys, I used to ignore this area a little more because I did not think that there was rock on the bottom, but there's more rock than I anticipated, even if the bank doesn't show it. So really what drew me to this spot was just the fact that we have a big current break in the form of that lay down there and a lot of trees piled on top of it. And this time of year, during the pre-spawn, I tend to find fish set up behind some sort of current break. Sometimes they're closer to that current seam, closer to the moving water. Sometimes they're closer to the slack. All right, well, there was more than one. So after a little bit of looking around and a couple catches, we decided that we were going to start targeting slower water. At this point, we haven't put together a pattern just yet, but we want the fish to tell us where they are, and we need a few more catches to do that. But generally speaking, in the pre-spawn, reduced flow areas or slower water are good places to start. Species number 2. Not a pike, so I don't have to buy a beer. So real quick, looking upstream, you can tell that most of the current is probably concentrated out in the channel, but if you look to your left, there is not much there. So keep that in mind when you're asking yourself, why is this a good spot? Maybe not. It's pretty big though. Will you get in the net? Oh yeah, doubled up. Double. Love it. All right, now we are talking. We are bringing our cost per fish down. We are starting to put things together, but we still need to solve the puzzle. So let's go ahead and work towards that. I think so. To the untrained eye, this may not look like much, but if you look closely at the water, you can see that this is an inside turn. It's kind of protected. It has reduced flow, and it is basically everything we want to be fishing at this time of year. Got takers out there. Didn't feel the bite, but felt the weight. Oh, oh. There you go. That's chilly. That's glove weather right there. At this point, it is just run and gun time. Despite the cold breeze, we're gonna go look for every inside turn that we can. Doubled up again. Be free.
Sun's at a perfect angle.
I think that's fish number 7. Bringing down our costs, our average cost. All right, at this point, I arrive at just a beautiful spot. We have an island up ahead. We have a secondary channel that has a lot less flow coming down through it. The island is blocking current. We've got overhanging trees. We've got rocky bottom. We've really got it all in this one spot. My fellow river people will probably understand this, but this is the kind of spot I am willing to drive hundreds of miles to fish. Freaking giant. That is a... Oh my God. That is huge. So we came here for it. These guys are fun. That was so fun. 20¼ inches, 4.5 pound river smallmouth. Eaten, healthy. Wow. All right. Oh! First lure lost. Spot remover jig head and the Kitech swim bait. So that's gonna cost some money. But that's not all the money I'm gonna lose today. As I work upstream, I'm throwing a jerkbait again. The water's cold, the plastic on it gets brittle. I break a nose, that's $18 down the drain. Hey, but we're having fun. Might as well lose a little more money. Walleye, 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 pike. God damn it. Damn it. Up here by the rapids too though.
Middle of the river right there.
I saw something decent sized had a bright red tail. I'm bow flipping him. Switch up the presentation for this guy. I knew he was there. I knew he was there. I knew he was there. Just a hair shy of 20 inches. We've definitely put in some time, but we are bringing our cost per fish down. At just under $26 per fish, we're making good progress, but let's see if we can put a couple more in the boat before we call it a night. Went to keep pulling on the swim bait and it wasn't there.
Big one?
No, not really. Yeah, well, maybe. Actually, it's pretty big. Yeah, that might be big. Get in here. With With the fishing slowing down and the sun getting low, I make a deal with myself that if I catch one more fish, that is going to be it for the night, and this is that fish. So that is going to be it for day one. As you can tell, I managed not to spend $265 and catch no fish. Instead, I brought my average cost per fish down to under $20, which in my opinion is not that bad, and this was a really fun day out on the water despite the cold. After just one day on the water and another night at a crappy motel, our total has now climbed to over $300, and I still have to get home. This morning is colder than yesterday, so we're not exactly getting an early start. And once we hit the water, the sun has peeked out a couple times, but the fishing is just slower. I've only been here once before, so I'm not entirely sure exactly what I'm looking for, but with a couple fish in the boat for both of us, we keep drifting downstream in hopes of stumbling upon something to warm us up.
These fish down here have got to be salmon or trout or something. They're like in the rapids, like coming up and smashing. I have no idea. Hopefully they'll eat a swim bait. Got one. Oh! No, it was one of the salmon. I got another fish. This feels like a smallmouth. Fat little smallmouth. I wanted a salmon or whatever the hell's jumping. Come on. In the mouth too. Yeah, it's not a carp, it's some kind of red horse. We gotta get a picture of this. This is awesome. This thing's huge. Oh my God, dude. Look at this. Thing is dropping eggs. Don't know.
Not even reeling. Letting it do its thing.
On the pause. This thing's running like a freaking salmon.
Oh no. Oh no.
Here. No, now you're on my rod. Okay, you're good.
I couldn't even see it.
Yeah. They don't know about us yet. Oh, I got a smallmouth again? No.
I got a jizz.
In the mouth! 2 in the mouth. They must be a little territorial.
Naturally, of course.
Alright, another nice one in the mouth. I think they're territorial or something because they're going after
what they think are little fish around where they are doing their dance.
Were you reeling it in or just like jerking? Caught in the back. Didn't even know it was there. Okay, it's not on. Okay, there's another one. There was two. I'm on again. Wait, what's going on?
Are they grabbing it?
They're grabbing it. Because that one just came off and then another one jetted under and I have that one. Okay, threat. Got him. Nice job.
Good to go. I drove 675 miles to fish the Smalley Promised Land, and the best bite of day 2 came from species most of you probably couldn't name: greater red horse and silver red horse, native suckers that have been in these rivers longer than any bass management plan put into action by Wisconsin. They're spawning, and for some reason, they were eating jerkbaits. This is the kind of moment you can't plan for, and when the money you spent to see it with your own eyes doesn't even cross your mind. And this is the kind of thing that only happens when you actually go out on that cold morning when bed sounded much better. When I caught my last red horse, my cost per fish was about $17.50, and I thought to myself, okay, that's not terrible, but then the trip just kept costing money. I needed lunch, I had to get gas, and then there's the 338 miles back to Illinois. By the time I pulled into my driveway, it was about 20 bucks a fish, and if I'm being honest about what 675 miles really costs, it's $798. Almost 40 bucks a fish. Yeah, that may be a fishing trip, but that's also a car payment for 3 months. But this trip didn't just cost me $400, it generated $400. The gas stations between here and Illinois, the motel, the quick trip run each morning. Most of my money spent landed in small Wisconsin communities that depend on people like me showing up. And if we zoom out, at the national level, recreational fishing generates $230 billion a year and supports over 1 million jobs. But that number starts with individual trips like mine. My $56 non-resident license went into a fish and wildlife account that's facing a $16 million deficit. Resident fees haven't gone up since 2005, while everything else has. Resident license sales have also dropped from 944,000 to 805,000, and the trend is heading in the wrong direction. The Wisconsin legislature raised non-resident fees and raided the forestry account to patch the gap, but those are temporary fixes. Then there's a funding loop that most anglers, and the general public for that matter, never see. The excise tax on the tackle I bought, the trick darter, the Kitex, the spinning reel I bought a couple months back. The percentage of every purchase goes into a federal trust fund. That fund sends money back to states based on how many fishing licenses they sell. Wisconsin used that money to manage the fishery I just drove 675 miles to fish. Anglers contribute $2 billion a year to conservation through this system. It's delivered over $71 billion to state agencies since it started, and it only works if people keep buying licenses and keep buying gear, and of course, keep on fishing. And that brings us back to my initial question. Was it worth it? $400 or $800 if we're in the mood to be honest with ourselves, for 2 days and 21 fish in the Smalley Promised Land. I caught plenty of big river smallmouth that I love. I caught the spawning red horse on jerkbaits on day 2. That's not in any fishing report. That's not on any map. That only happened because I loaded the kayak, drove the miles, and stayed 2 nights while braving crummy motel showers. I'll admit, facing the numbers has got me thinking, but I'm already planning the next trip. So yeah, it was worth it. But now I know what it actually costs, and so do you.